Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday. It's time for the Youth Watch. It's time to take a look at our young players, rookies, and second year guys and see how they are doing. And you guys probably already know because you watched the game yesterday, they mostly did pretty dang good. We got a lot of happy things to talk about here. So let's start with the running backs like we always do. K9 had one of his best games ever, I would say. He ran the ball effectively and efficiently. He had 2 touchdowns, and he also had a big impact in the passing game, catching that 33-yarder. I think it was 33. So on the season so far, Walker has touched the ball 55 times for 277 yards and 4 touchdowns. His PFF grade was sterling in this most recent game, boosted his overall grade all the way up to a 75. It was a great game for him, and to me, the thing that stands out is I think his best play was the catch. That was a 1st and 25. The drive is basically dead. It feels like everything's just terrible. We get this very, very dubious call on DK Metcalf to push us back 15 yards out of field goal range. It feels like everything's going wrong. Game is still close. And then Walker streaks down the sideline and catches a pass to immediately erase it. Absolutely beautiful stuff. So, as of right now, if you combine rushing and receiving, which I think is important to do because yards are yards, Walker is almost on pace to have a 1,700-yard season from scrimmage. If K9 can pull that off, and by the way, the thing to remember, the most recent game, he didn't even play that much. He only played half the snaps. That's pretty remarkable. That's pretty special. If he can do that while still surrendering a decent chunk of the workload to Charbonnet and eventually maybe McIntosh, that's special. Speaking of special, Charbonnet for the first time this year looked special. He got the ball about 10 times, picked up almost 50 yards, and his PFF grade went through the roof, 72.3 now. So Charbonnet had the best game of his career, and that's reflected here. So we're starting to build a little bit of a cadence with this guy. Remember, Charbonnet also might be our best pass blocker, so he's going to be contributing in those areas. Those don't show up in the box score stats, but we know that Charbonnet's doing good work there. So if he can continue to build on this season and end up with maybe 500 yards from scrimmage this year, which the way things are building for him, it seems like that's very possible, then we've got something very special in this backfield. We're going to have maybe close to 2,500 total yards from scrimmage from our backs. That would be pretty remarkable. McIntosh obviously not playing yet. Still kind of interested to see what he does when he starts getting out there, hopefully in a few weeks. Wide receivers, JSN had a quiet day. I think he had 1 catch for 10 yards. PFF grade fell a little bit. Again, we're just going to have to wait with this guy. It's not, it's, the situation does not play to his strengths. I'm sorry, but I don't think we can put this too much on him. I don't think JSN's doing anything that wrong. You can also see a few plays where he's open. And honestly, you can say this for Bobo as well. There are plays where JSN is open. There are plays where Jake Bobo is open and Gino doesn't see them. He doesn't have that comfort level with those guys the way he has it with Metcalf and Lockett yet. It's going to come. We're going to have to give this time. Speaking of Bobo, though, he did make his first ever touchdown catch. It was a little 5-yarder. No problem. Nothing to it. And he's also doing good stuff on special teams. His offensive PFF grade jumped to a 69, mostly on the back of his phenomenal run blocking. I think his run blocking grade is like 92.4 or something. It's remarkable what Jake Bobo's doing as a run blocker. And that's where most of his production comes from. You guys got to understand that the stats will never be crazy for Bobo, even though I do think he's probably going to improve there as the season goes on because he is getting open. But I think that his run blocking is going to be the real thing that makes him an asset to this team. Okay, so now we're on to the offensive line, and only one of the young offensive linemen played. It was Anthony Bradford. And I thought he played fine, and PFF agrees, and the advanced metrics agree. He allowed 0 pressures in that game per PFF, and PFF is very aggressive with their pressure numbers. So Anthony Bradford allowing 0 pressures in a game where he plays, I think, every snap on offense, even though he did get hurt at one point, I don't think he missed any snaps, is phenomenal. So, yeah, no pressures allowed. His run block grade was not good, 48.3. His pass block grade was over 70, though. So where he needed to do it, he did it. And his overall grade was 55.6. So we truly do have a pass block first offensive line, guys. It is as pure of a pass block first offensive line as you will find. It's even Damian Lewis has turned into a pass protector now. The one guy we have on this offensive line who's actually like a better run blocker than pass protector might be Evan Brown, and I don't even know about Evan Brown. At this point, Evan Brown might be a better pass protector. And that's going to be the case even when Phil Haynes comes back. That's going to be the case when Cross and Lucas come back. So embrace it. Embrace it. That's what we do now. Okay, now we swing on over to the defense. Mike Morris out for the season, so this is not going to be changing. Very tragic, very unfortunate, but yeah, this guy's just going to sit here at these numbers for the rest of the year. Cam Young, however, played fairly well. Didn't make any big splash plays or anything like that, but he contributed. PFF grade went up to a 64, which is respectable. So you got to say Cam Young is doing his job so far. It's nothing over the top, nothing crazy, but if you were expecting anything over the top crazy from Cam Young, then I think you were fooling yourself, because he's a very limited player in what he does, but so far I think he's filled his role well. Linebacker Drake Thomas played a little bit on special teams, didn't really do anything remarkable. PFF grade down to 50.5. That's a special teams grade, by the way, just to be clear. Not much to say. Edge rusher, however, there's quite a bit to say about Boye Mafe. After an okay first game and then missing game 2, he picked up his first sack of the season. He made some, I think that was the one tackle he had in this game, but his work generating pressures, which I already spoke about yesterday, was so good that PFF gave him a remarkably high grade, and it boosted his overall grade all the way up to 75.6. So Boye Mafe trending in the right direction. Looks like we are getting that breakout year that we talked about. Looks like Boye Mafe is indeed going to be that special breakout second-year player we were thinking about. I thought he was all over the place today. I thought he was, on Sunday. I thought that he was absolutely phenomenal from basically the start to finish. And I know he didn't lead the team in pressures, but I think he, other than maybe Witherspoon, was the defender. Well, okay, him, Jaron Reed, and Mafe. So it would be Witherspoon, Reed, Mafe, the guys who stood out the most to me on defense. So great game from Mafe. Derek Hall didn't really get anything going in terms of pass rush, but he did have a pass deflection. He had some tackles, and PFF thought he played overall quite well. They gave him a good grade, boosted it up to 59.7 overall, which is, I think, pretty good given the fact that we knew this guy was going to be a little bit raw, a little bit unprepared to play at a super high level this year, and he's a rookie. I think that's good. I think him finding little ways to contribute is valuable, and I'm happy taking it. Especially, you got to remember, he probably played more than he thought he was going to because Daryl Taylor got hurt. And Taylor has really not been all that good so far this year, so Derek Hall might be getting a significant boost in his role this year sooner rather than later. Tyreek Smith is on the practice squad, so he did not play in this game. That moves us on to cornerback, and Tariq Woolen did not play, but the main event this week somehow is not Tariq Woolen, it's Witherspoon, and we're going to have to definitely dig into this guy just a little bit here, because what Witherspoon did was very special, I think, and watching that game, you can see how he's different than these other guys. He had 11 tackles in this game. And it was not a situation where he was allowing a ton of catches and just getting the tackle after the catch. That kind of stuff is not what we want. That's the kind of stuff that cornerbacks sometimes do when they're not very good that makes it look like they're more impactful than they are. You give up a ton of receptions and then you get the tackle. Witherspoon got a lot of his tackles because he was coming up in run support, because he was coming up on plays away from him and making the tackle. And you saw how good his tackling was, how good his run support was. He knew where to be and he knew how to effectively and efficiently bring opposing ball carriers down. So that was something that stood out. And the other thing that stood out, of course, was the coverage. He did give up some catches. He did get whistled with one penalty that I think was a load of crap. But 2 PBUs. And I think people underestimate how good PBUs and how valuable they are in the modern NFL sometimes. He almost got his first interception. I think DJ Chark pushed off, and prevented Witherspoon from getting an interception, but he did prevent the catch. So I can live with that. And I think that if the NFL referees ever start calling OPI, Witherspoon's a guy who's going to draw a lot of them, because that was a pretty obvious push-off that he got away with. And if Witherspoon continues to put himself in situations like that, he's going to start taking the ball away, and he's going to start generating OPI calls on the offense. His PFF grade for this game was a 70, and it boosted his overall grade to 65.7. That was with him allowing, I think, a touchdown at the end of the game, although I don't know if they gave it to him or not. They may end up saying it was on somebody else's head. I'm not sure, but he was the closest defender in the area at least. And overall, I don't know how you can watch this game and not come away with the belief that Witherspoon is going to be very special. Like, there's just a radical difference between him in coverage and everybody else in coverage. There's a radical difference with him in run support versus everybody else in run support. Absolutely headed in the right direction with this guy. Kobe Bryant did not play, Q Blue Kelly did not play, and Jarek Reed did play, mostly on special teams where he continues to have an elite PFF grade. He might be our best special teamer. But he also played a little bit on defense, nothing remarkable, a couple tackles. Good to see him get out there, I guess. But nothing over the top on that front. But I want to see a little bit more of that, especially if our safeties keep playing the way that they're playing. And at the very least, I can say he is a wizard on special teams. He's got an 86 PFF grade. He's making a lot of our big plays on special teams. So, pretty remarkable stuff from Jarek Reed on that front. So, great week from our young players, and our slew of young guys is really starting to come along here if you take a look at these performances. All right, see you guys later. Go Hawks.